Who are the 5 biggest busts in MLS history? Now, today I'm going to give you my list on who I think are the biggest disappointing signings, didn't really contribute as much as you like, especially with the name recognition these players came with. Before I get into that, make sure you like this video down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're trying to hit 6,000 subscribers by MLS opening day, a little less than a month away. So subscribe if you haven't, hit the little bell notification so you never miss a video. Now, let's get into this list. So at number 1, we have Rafa Marquez. Now, Rafa Marquez is obviously a very, very popular, legendary player for the Mexican national team and played for Barca for almost a decade. But he came to MLS in 2010 following his Barca teammate Thierry Henry. Now, the reason they signed him is because they wanted to have a prolific player, someone with name recognition, someone that could really garner the Mexican American audience and even just the Mexican audience to take an interest in Major League Soccer. But he did not match his previous performances in La Liga in MLS, and he was a complete and utter disaster. Now, as many of you know, spending a DP spot or using a DP spot on a defender is not a good idea in most circumstances, and especially paying a defender $6 million a year back in 2010. Absolutely crazy, right? He only played 44 matches for the New York Red Bulls. He had issues with his teammates, calling some of them inferior, which made him infamous amongst the fans. And he just didn't have a team first mentality when the Mexican international defender made his way to the United States. And I don't see how you can't put him on this list just based off what he contributed. No trophies, didn't play more than 20 games in a season, only 44 matches and 1 goal in his entire 3 years or 3 seasons with the New York Red Bulls, and $6 million a year. That is crazy, crazy, crazy amount of money. Especially, I think it was pretty much the same amount of money that Thierry Henry was making. And you look at the difference in the quality of player, you have to put Rafa Marquez on this list. Huge disappointment. I think it's another reason why a lot of teams were hesitant to sign DP center backs on their teams because of something like this. I have him at number 5. Let me know down below what you think about that. Now, doubling back with another Mexican international superstar, Giovani dos Santos. Now, Giovani dos Santos was a player the LA Galaxy had been targeting for several years. They had been wanting him for a long time, going back as far as like the 2010, 2011, trying to sign him, but he just wasn't ready to make the move to the United States at that point. He was only 22, 23 years old, but they kept trying, and eventually Bruce Arena and Chris Klein were able to seal the deal, get Giovani dos Santos to come over in 2015, 1 year after his great performance at the 2014 World Cup and a good year at Villarreal. And they were able to secure his signing with the LA Galaxy. And I was very hyped and expecting big things from Giovani dos Santos just because he is a good player, especially in MLS at that time. The quality difference between him and others, the average player, was significant. But the problem with Giovani dos Santos was his motivation, his determination, his just giving his all. It felt like he was always checked out or injured with the LA Galaxy. And honestly, towards the end of his career as well, when he would show flashes of brilliance, especially with the Mexican national team, I think of it's infamous if you're a USMNT fan like myself, but the chip shot he had over Tim Howard, and it's one of the most incredible goals I've ever seen. And I think of that guy and how good he possibly could have been, and just never lived up to those expectations. He appeared for the LA Galaxy 77 times, 26 goals, 26 assists. Now, that is severely disappointing, especially when he's a DP and he came over at 26 years old. He was making like $6 to $7 million a year. They paid $7 million from Villarreal. He has to be better than that. You look at what Robbie Keane did at 31, 32, 33. Robbie Keane won MVP, led them to 2 MLS Cups, or actually 3 MLS Cups. And Giovani dos Santos couldn't even come close to doing what Robbie Keane did. And that just shows how he didn't live up to expectations of where they wanted him to be the replacement for Robbie Keane, and maybe a little bit of Landon Donovan, kind of like a hybrid replacement for both of those players. And I feel like you have to have him on the list when you talk about what he was expected to do, what he ended up doing, and especially the most important thing is the price tag. Spending $7 million in 2015 for MLS, and then $6 to $7 million annually on his salary is expensive. And he never lived up to that. He went to Club America after they bought him out in 2019, and I don't think he really did anything there either. So I have Giovani dos Santos at number 4 on my list of biggest busts in MLS history. Now, at number 3, one of my favorite players of all time, and it's kind of hard to put him on here, but he was a disaster in MLS. He is one of the best players in Italian football history, and it's sad that he wasn't able to replicate that at New York City FC, and that is Andrea Pirlo. Andrea Pirlo was incredible at Milan. He was incredible at Juventus, especially down the later stages of his career. I want to say it was Gigi Buffon who said that Andrea Pirlo was the greatest free transfer in football history because they signed him in like when he was 31 or 32 from Milan. And I thought with the way that he played the game, even though he's never been the fastest guy, he's never been the most athletic guy, his vision, his intelligence, the way he played the game, I thought someone like Andrea Pirlo would transition to Major League Soccer seamlessly. And I thought he could play a couple years and be a very big difference maker for an ambitious team owned by City Football Group who are really trying to set themselves up in that market is a powerhouse. And they paired him up with David Villa and Frank Lampard. And honestly, David Villa was the only one who did anything of the three of relevance. He won MVP. Frank Lampard obviously had the loan debacle, and he a Man City player? Was he a New York City FC player? He's injured. He only played, I think, less than 20 matches as a New York City FC player. And then Andrea Pirlo did play in 60 matches for New York City FC, but he only had one goal. We're talking about the free kick specialist. Andrea Pirlo only had one goal in his New York City FC career. And I know you guys remember the infamous goalpost, terrible defending by him where he's just chilling by the goalpost and doesn't even care. It just felt like he was checked out at that point. He was just living a different lifestyle, checking out the United States, happened to be playing soccer part-time, it felt like. And he just wasn't as focused as what we had seen prior when he played in the Champions League final with Juve against Barca in 2015. And he had 18 assists, but Andrea Pirlo's time in New York City FC is not well remembered. Makes you wonder what would have happened if they had gotten Javi Hernandez instead of Andrea Pirlo, what kind of difference that would have made for New York City FC. Now, moving on to number 2. This was a guy that I had very, very high hopes for. Really got me excited. It felt like we were going into a new era of soccer just based on getting someone of this quality, and it was Pity Martinez. Pity Martinez was the South American Player of the Year after his season with River Plate. He was coming to MLS at 25 years old. They broke an MLS record for him. I think it was around $16 to $17 million. And he was replacing Miguel Almiron. And everybody was hyped. They're like, man, how is this possible? They're going to get someone who potentially is even better than Miguel Almiron. And Atlanta United is just built different. They're doing things completely the unconventional way for Major League Soccer teams. And that's where it ended. It never materialized in a positive way. I don't think he ever fit in Frank de Boer's system. He was unhappy. Him and Joseph Martinez never really found that same chemistry that Joseph Martinez and Miguel Almiron had. Now, Joseph Martinez did get hurt quite a bit down the stretch of his Atlanta United career, but they were never able to have that same chemistry or replicate the wins like Miguel Almiron and Joseph Martinez were able to do. And it really makes you wonder what would have happened if PT Martinez had played under Tata Martino, who I think is the guy who wanted to sign him or initiated that signing. What would have happened if he had been able to play with a manager who actually wanted him and made that signing to fit his tactics and his scheme? But unfortunately, with the price tag of 16 to 17 million, 39 matches in 2 years, 7 goals, 11 assists, he did not meet the expectations that were presented on him, especially after what Miguel Almiron had done in those 2 previous years in winning MLS Cup with Atlanta United. And I have to put him at number 2. I'd like to know what you guys think. Would you have PT Martinez that high? Am I too harsh on him? I just think the price tag has to be incorporated in this because $16 million, I've said this before on other streams, $16 million, you better be one of the best players in MLS. You can't just be another guy. You have to be an elevator as someone who is making their team better. And I just don't think he ever truly did that. Now, number 1, this guy has been an unmitigated disaster off the field, on the field, complete bust, crazy money. And it's almost insane how bad he's been based on what he cost. And that's Lorenzo Insigne. Lorenzo Insigne was signed in the 2022 summer. Oh, that's when he officially came over to Toronto FC. He was actually signed at the new year of the 2022 season, around January, I think was when it was official. And everybody was talking about how they were going to pay him 14 to 15 million a year. And he had that one season at Napoli where he scored like 20 goals. And they're like, this is going to be the Sebastian Jovinko true replacement. He's going to be replicating what Sebastian Jovinko did for us. We're going to go to MLS Cups again. He's going to be an MVP. He's going to be a difference maker. And that just never has happened with Lorenzo Insigne. And when you're paying someone 14 to 15 million, the only person making more money than Lorenzo Insigne in Major League Soccer is Lionel Messi. He's making 5 to 6 million based on the salary. Now Messi's making more with ads, endorsements, but just based on the team salary, he's only making 5 to 6 million more. I think he's doubling the second highest paid player in the league, or third highest paid player in the league. His salary is double what that is. So it's just crazy how bad this guy has been. And they're trying to get rid of him so bad. He wants to leave. They want him to leave. They're trying to get something resolved, but he still has 2 years left on his deal, and he's getting paid 14 million a year. And it's really difficult to get some team to take that on or to buy him out. Nobody wants to pay him $28 million. They would rather just ride it out and see what happens than pay him, cut him a $28 million check and just say, adios, Lorenzo Insigne. It is what it is. They are in a bad spot right now. And he's only got 14 goals and 14 assists and 54 appearances for Toronto FC. But the craziest part is the 2.5 years he's been there, he has 0 playoff appearances. 0. And when you have a guy, and I said this about Pity Martinez too, when you're paying someone that much money, they have got to be able to elevate your team to new heights and be the person you can rely on to help your team win. And Lorenzo Insigne has not done that. He's came up short in every way possible. He is the biggest bust in MLS history because of that salary, what he's done, the shenanigans on and off the field. I don't even think it's close. Let me know down below. What do you think about my top 5 MLS busts of all time? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who would be in your top 5? Let me know down below. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And hit that little bell notification so you never miss a video. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.